Hello and welcome to the Nautical Institute Young Members Council webinar. It's regarding recruiting and training of young seafarers, and we are going to discuss about is the process working or any amendments to the process is required. And I hope you know about the Nautical Institute, and if you don't know about it, it's an international professional body in the maritime industry, and it represents its members, and we share our ideas, and finally we come with best practices for the industry. And also Nautical Institute represents its members' voice, especially in forums like IMO, ILA, and many other industry forums. Main thing we Nautical Institute helping with their members to develop and with continuous professional development of the members. And this webinar is organized by Young Members Council. And if I tell you about the Young Member Council, it started in 2019 as a young entity, of the Nautical Institute. And since inception, we were discussing about the challenges facing by young maritime professionals, and finally we have some programs scheduled in the order, and this webinar is a result of that. Yeah, I'm Tilanka Siriman, joining here representing Younger Members Council, and I'm joined by Captain Andre from Florida, and Mario is on board, and he's from Vancouver, and Verena from Germany, and I think it's good morning to all three of you, and good evening to Captain Chinna. Captain Chinna is joining from India. Hello. Yeah, and this is an interactive webinar, so your mic and the camera will not work, but always you can send us questions. There's a question box on your right hand side, so what you can do, you can type your questions as well as your suggestions to us. So then please make sure that you press the send button so that we'll get them, and we are trying to answer your questions as much as possible within the time frame we have. And also there are some downloadable Nautical Institute brochure. You can download it on the same panel. On the handouts you have I can see two documents you can download. One is the NI membership brochure, and if you are a younger maritime professional or cadet engaged in training, you can download the student membership postcard. That will be helpful, and you can join the Nautical Institute free of charge during your training period. That's the new thing we came up with the Nautical Institute recently. And while we are proceeding with the webinar, we'll be asking some questions from the audience. Hopefully we'll have two polls. We have kept two polls ready. So what you can do, you can answer and click the submit button, so that maybe after 1 or 1.5 minutes later, we can see the results and we can discuss about it, and it will be very helpful us to proceed with our proceedings maybe after the webinar also, because we will use the statistics later with the Nautical Institute projects. And at the end of the webinar, you can tell us how did we do and how we can progress further with NI events, and especially related to younger members. While you submit that, after around 2 hours, you will receive an email saying thank you very much for participating, and you will receive a personalized certificate with your name to your email, so you can download it and you can keep it ready for your records as a continuous professional development proof. And just want you to know this webinar is recorded, and we'll be uploading the recording to the Nautical Institute YouTube channel probably after a couple of days. So what you can do, you can share this video, this webinar with your colleagues, friends, and in case if you miss this webinar, so what you can do, you can watch it later on the YouTube channel of the Nautical Institute, and there are many past webinars also. You can have a look and maybe improve yourself. And of course, you are not alone, and currently it's around 375 registered for this webinar and joining with us, and you are not alone and we are not alone. Thank you very much for attending. And let me introduce the panelists. And I hope you know about Captain Andre, and he's the president of the Nautical Institute. If you are into Nautical Institute, you should know him. He's the president of Nautical Institute, and he's currently employed as a mooring master in POAC in the lightering trade, undertaking underway ship-to-ship transfers of oil offshore USA and South America. And he also owns USA LLC, which specializes in providing maritime experts, witness, and consulting services. And thank you for accepting our invitation, Captain Andre.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Absolutely delighted to be here with you today, home on leave, and such an important subject to address. Thanks for inviting me.
It's great to have you here. And Captain Chinna is joining from India, and he's a master mariner with 20 years experience at sea. He has sailed on general cargo ships, bulk carriers, VLCCs, and chemical tankers. Currently, he is the general manager on competency development and training with Williamson Ship Management, and his mainly focus is delivering training solutions and career development programs for seafarers. So that's why he's here, and he is also the head of Williamson International Maritime Training Center in Mumbai. And thank you as well for accepting our invitation, and welcome to the webinar.
Thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here. This subject is very close to my heart, and I'm happy to make my contribution.
Thank you very much for coming up here. Yeah, and we have Mario here. He's on board and still joining us, and he's a master mariner too, and he's sailing with the dry cargo giant Oldendorf carriers since childhood. His cadethood, working on many roles and capacities, building up his capacities and capabilities. But why he's here today, when he's ashore, he works as an expert interviewer at Merck Marine Group of companies in Sri Lanka on behalf of ship owners and clients. So that's why he's here, and he will give inputs how you can do interviews, how you can face interviews, what are the things you do, things you should do and you should not do during the recruitment process. And our last panelist is Verena, and she's joining from Germany, and we are talking about young maritime professionals. So at least one representative from young seafarer should be here. So Verena is here, and also Mario is not that old, and he's also in the same group as we are. So
let's say we are young at heart, and it's good to have actually young person with us.
Yeah, so glad to have you, Mario and Verena, here, and welcome to the webinar.
Thanks a lot for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Tilanga, no thanks problem for inviting us. Happy to be here. It's a pleasure.
Great to have you here. And to proceeding with the webinar, I'll go ahead with Captain Chinna, and what he will tell is the difference between past and the present trainings, and what is the training prospects and what is expected by our ship owners. So it's over to you, Captain Chinna. You can go ahead.
So thanks for the opportunity. Like I said earlier, this is a subject which is very close to my heart. Today I will talk about a bit of comparison between young seafarers in my time when I started sea and what I perceive, what I see in today's young seafarers or cadets, so to speak. And then I will go on to talk about the current scenario a little, and then I will go on to conclude. So to begin with, we will try to understand the changes in the profile of the average cadet as we see them today. Since the world has, as we know, has undergone rapid transformation in the last 2 decades, it's only natural to expect an equally rapid transformation in the profile of the seafarer in general, and in particular that of the average cadet. So when compared to the average cadet from say 10 years ago, the modern day cadet has indeed changed a lot. He or she is better connected to others of their respective generation through various social media platforms. They're a part of a large number of WhatsApp groups, etc. He or she also reads up on peer feedback regarding cadets' conditions on ships operated by various companies, and they are thus able to make informed choices. This brings me to my next point, where I say that the modern day cadet is more empowered than the cadet, say, about 10 years ago. This, in my opinion, is an extremely positive development, and the way I see it, I see 2 main reasons behind this. The first reason being, as I have already mentioned, the ability of the cadets to connect with each other and exchange notes. The second reason, and this is the most important one in my opinion, is that the companies have in recent times recognized the need to empower the cadets. So there are procedures in place, there is sensitization of the senior officers with the challenges faced by cadets, etc. And it's an extremely positive development, like I already said. Coming to my next point, knowledge is no longer confined to libraries and textbooks. There are search engines led by global giants like Google, who have gone on to truly democratize knowledge. And now we live in an era where literally all the knowledge in the world is at our fingertips. The average cadet usually carries along a significant number of gadgets when he or she travels, and is able to seek and find solutions to various shipboard challenges through the use of technology. He or she can handle multiple layers of automation and information technology, including even some troubleshooting skills, which is far better than I could do when I was a cadet, say 2 decades ago or more than that. Also, the modern day cadet is often required to possess multiple skill sets, and which at times are not connected to their core education. So they just pick up these skills along the way, and they're so good at these things. It's impressive. But a concerning development is that most modern seafarers start out with loans and mortgages very early in life. It's recognized that the cost of cadet training schools is fairly high nowadays, and in order to avoid burdens on respective families, they may end up picking up education loans or something else. But the surprising part, and I was a little surprised to see this in a couple of cases that I had the opportunity to individuals that I've had the opportunity to interact with. There are young seafarers who do not hesitate to take on expensive vehicle loans, or would like to go on expensive holidays using their credit cards. One of the potential consequences of the fast lifestyle is that one may under the pressure to choose the first option available, and excuse me, there may not be enough time to put in the homework required when choosing the right vessel or the vessel operator. And this also tends to make a person emotionally insecure. So I would caution against this here. Excuse me. Right. So what goes into training of a cadet? Seafaring was and perhaps still is essentially an occupation where performance depended heavily on experience. In the olden days, training was entirely based on mentorship on board, very often driven by poor opportunities ashore. A person would board a vessel in desperation and simply go on to learn on the job. Over the years, with increased learnings and performances demonstrated, he might get promoted to senior positions. The only source of learning was mentorship provided by superiors. Shore-based schooling was a fairly recent addition. It is said to have started, say, around the mid-19th century in Europe and UK or England, as it was those days, where for the first time, subject matter experts who were not from maritime background were invited to teach subjects like trigonometry and astronomy. And the shore-based schooling went on to take bigger and bigger chunk of maritime training. However, if you ask me whether shore-based training is the biggest part of maritime training today, as a trainer, my answer would be no, absolutely not. Mentorship on board is still extremely important. Practical aspects for training on board is still extremely important. All we can do in a shore-based school is to point you in the right direction. It's up to the young seafarer to continue learning when you're on board. So I will now try and give an idea of the scenario in India for cadets. The way I see it, I don't claim to be an expert on it, but I have tried to collect some official data, which is published by the Indian government here. As you can see, the data is about 5 years old. Considering the effects of COVID and trend from the year 2013, we may assume that the number of deck cadets from India on board has remained more or less the same. In this slide, you may see a similar, you see a similar graph for the number of engine cadets on board from India. It is not easy to identify what percentage of cadets manage to find placement soon after passing out from pre-C schools. Based on my conversation, of course, this conversation is private, but with the director of one well-reputed school, about 70% of their cadets find placements while still in the campus. Overall, they have seen fairly high success placement percentages, say within 6 months to 1 year of passing out from the campus. Of course, this number may change from school to school and discipline being discussed. In August 2021, Offing conducted a survey in which more than 2,000 cadets from India participated. And my good friend, Captain Purnendu from Offing, was kind enough to share the summary with me. In my experience, personal experience, this is the most comprehensive summary I could find about the status of employment of cadets. It should be noted that this summary is based on the number of voluntary participants, and the official numbers, whenever they are published, may vary significantly from the summaries shown here. As can be seen on the screen, the catering course fares very well in terms of employment, with 99% finding placements. And since the tightening of regulations by the DG Shipping India, the government in general, the DNS and the GME streams, so sort of that's the Diploma Nautical Sciences and the Maritime Marine Engineer 1-year course, the placement status seems to be improving. And presently, one cannot get admission into DNS or GME without sponsorship from RPSL companies. Captain Tilanka, please warn me if I am exceeding my time. Okay?
That's all right. That's fine.
Right. Thank you. So now is, of course, this is also a very important point here, how to avoid getting trapped by fraudulent operators. Once again, here I would credit the Director General of Shipping in India with a very proactive approach which was adopted. So all the recruitment and placement services, license holders are required to register themselves with the DG Shipping in India. And the list is published on the website for readily for anybody to available for anybody to download. Presently, 443 companies are listed there. A verification of the company who's made the offer should be the first step. In the list published on the website, you can see a registered email. Excuse me. And a simple mail sent to the registered ID should go a long way in, in confirming that the offer was received from the correct source. The next step, of course, would be to pay a visit to the registered address, which is again mentioned on the website in the same list, and so on. So one should not accept offers of employment unless it comes from a registered operator. That it goes a long way in ensuring there is no fraud being committed against the young seafarers. Finally, I take the liberty of borrowing, a famous quote by Phoebe Shelley to say that we see reasons to be optimistic. We said, if winter comes, can spring be far behind? With the pandemic nearly over, companies have begun to increase cadet intake again, if not increase, at least restore back to the pre-pandemic levels. I also see an increasing demand for women seafarers, and I think they're being absorbed nearly immediately as soon as they become available, at least in India. The government seems to have taken note of the struggles of young seafarers in India. We've recently had the Nautica, which was supported by the DG Shipping. Also, I see a lot of private support groups and non-governmental organizations like the Nautical Institute, who seem to be swinging into action to initiate discussions on this subject and extend support to struggling young seafarers. So, sorry, I forgot to key the points on the screen. But I will encourage all young seafarers to stay positive and stay strong, stay safe. Your family needs you. Okay, all the very best, and thank you very much for having me here. Over to you,
thank you very much. And yes, I also agree with you. And this training of training for the seafarer is not only the classroom based, and it should be your passion. And you can search on YouTube, and you can search on Google, as you said. And there are a lot of ways to learn and develop your skills, and the Nautical Institute is there, and NI is introducing the free membership to younger professionals, so you can always use it free of charge. And you can they have different options now, not like earlier days. I agree with you. And I would like to go ahead with Mario, and he will tell us, as he's a recruiting interviewer, so he will be telling us how the fresher should go for an interview and how he should face the interview, and what are the things he should be keep ready, and how to talk, and so on. So it's over to you, Mario, and you can carry on.
Thank you, Tilanka. Thank you for getting me on board for this webinar, which is actually quite timely and quite important for our youngsters. And myself, I'm a seafarer first and foremost. Being an interviewer came across towards late of my career, and I'm happy to do it. It helps me out to see the cadets and trainees on a different level. So what I want to tell the young gents and the young ladies who are looking at a career at sea, which of course it's quite different from regular jobs, regular career things, and it is that the employers do know this, right? So the interviewers do understand this. The interviewers are not non-sailors. They are ex-sailors or people from the ship owners who are very familiar with the shipping industry and how the ship operates, and they know what they are looking for, and they very clearly know where the pre-sea trainees are at, or the younger officers or younger ratings are at. So first and foremost, I want to remove this doubt in our juniors or youngsters' heads that the questions will be very difficult and that they will not be able to answer academically correctly. That is not the case. So the few minutes I have, how I will go is that I will address how to prepare for an interview, then how to actually face the interview, and then how to close an interview. This is one point us sailors usually miss. We have to have a good closing, right? Then the next point is that how to retain this job when you finally get it, because the ship owners are looking for career-based people. So if we go on board and we don't perform, the opportunity which we got will be taken away from us. So let me go ahead now. How we will prepare for an interview. As an interviewer, I will tell you what I expect from the candidates.
Tilanka, I think we may have lost Mario, accepting the fact that he is on a ship. I think we have to take these things into consideration.
I think we lost Mario. Mario, are you here?
Tilanka?
Yeah, we can hear you. Am I coming through?
Okay. Excuse me if my network is not very stable, because I'm currently on board.
That's fine.
And I'm trying my best to give you good access. So okay, let me continue. Now, when an interview is being conducted, first thing, you must prepare yourself. You must have a good CV. After you get a good CV, you must have yourself a proper photograph. So this is quite important, to have a good CV and a photograph, right? NI itself has its own help tool for this process, which I myself used. Then, before you sit for this interview, you must research the company which is interviewing you. This is quite important, because you should know who is going to employ you. Then you must come in with your safety knowledge brushed up, because this is important for ship owners in regards to trainees and cadets, that you are safety oriented. Then you have to prepare your equipment, your documents, and basically have your setup ready, which will make your interview run smoothly. If you are going to do it on an online platform, have your computer ready, have a good internet connection, then have the background properly done. Let your family know not to come and disturb you while you're doing this interview. These things matter. Then the dress code. Show your best self. Right? Be punctual. If the interview is at such a given time, be ready beforehand. Have a smart appearance. Be well groomed. And then show that you are a work-oriented person when you sit down for this interview. Tilanka, I'm nudging you again. If I lose connection or if I'm not clear, let me know. I can repeat. How am I now?
You are clear. You are clear. Yes.
Thank you. So the second point is how to face the interview. So you are in front of an interviewer, and don't be nervous, because the interviewer, the gent who's taking you in, the lady or the gent who's taking you in, knows that you are a trainee, that this may be your first interview, and that you do not have sea experience, or even if you do, which is not technically, you're not a technically advanced person. They know this. They want to take you in and train you. So don't worry about this part. When you're in front of this interviewer, talk freely, be yourself. Try not to practice your answers before you go to the interview. Be prepared, but not practice. The old saying, as it goes, don't parrot. That is a no-no. Then answer honestly. If there's a question that comes at you which you don't know the answer, the best is to say that you are not aware and that you will do your research, and if you can come back later on. This would be an ideal answer for an interviewer from a trainee, that the person is honest and is willing to learn what he doesn't know. Then be safety oriented. This is a key point, because the ships are very, very safety oriented workspaces, and the ship's owners want their staff, their crew, to be working safe. So any questions that is put to you, you need to answer with the safety factors in mind. Then don't only worry about the language barrier. We are international, we are on international trade, we are on international job title. So all interviewers know that different nationalities have different language skill level, and there's different dialects. So if you worry yourself about this language barrier, then your delivery will be slow and lethargic. Then you have to show the interviewer that you want to be with them, that you're a career-minded guy. When you answer, you have to have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, your examination plans. These things you need to know. Then finally, the important point of a quick interview is how to close it. At the end of the interview, once you are told that the interview is completed, thank the interviewer, thank the person for giving you the opportunity, for taking off his time and taking you in for this interview, and show them that you are a loyal employee, that you want to be with this company, that you have you are looking forward to working for them. This will stay with them. Tilanka, how am I with time, and how is my
yes.
voice?
Yeah, you can have another 2 minutes. You can go ahead. Yeah.
Work on interviews and things. When a ship owner is looking for cadet trainees or rating trainees, they usually go through a pre selection process, which would go on CBD trainings, college results, or certain other barrier controls. But from that point, they will take the interviews, and usually the failure rate would be somewhere between 20 to 30%. So because the ship owners, when they do interviews, they want to employ you. It's not a fact of spending their time to fail the interviewees. So go with that positive mind. If you are getting an interview, most likely you are going to get the job. You only need to do that remaining small push. Tilanka, so
Yeah,
I think with my time,
yeah.
I'm good here. If you have anything to add for the moment, or I'm good for the question and answers.
Yeah, thank you very much. And because I think our youngsters got some idea about how to present themselves in the interviews. And before proceeding with the Q&A session, I would like to have a poll going through our participants. So dear participants, you have a poll on your screen. So what you can do, you have 1 minute time. So what you can do, you can select what is the time period you stayed without a ship after your PC training. So you can select you stayed maybe within less than 2 months, and you were able to join within 2 months, then press the first one. And if you stayed 2 to 6 months before you join your first ship, then you can select number 2. And if you stayed 6 to 1 year, you can select number 3. And you stayed 1 year or more, then you can select number 4. And still, if you couldn't find an opportunity, then you can select number 5, the last one. So you can, after selecting an answer, you can submit it. So that is totally anonymous, and we'll be having some stats to go ahead with this and in our future projects. So you have time now, and in case if you're not relevant to this, what you can do, if you know someone else that is who is a seafarer, and you know that how much they are waiting. So we just need to find out the waiting time of seafarers, young seafarers, and the first time seafarers before the first assignments. And David is supporting us with the poll here today. And yeah, here you go. Yeah, so we got some stats with your inputs. So 38% telling they joined within 2 months time. And yes, another all same. And there are 12% of the seafarers here still couldn't find an opportunity, and another 15%. So totally 15 and 27% is more than 1 year waiting. Yeah, so with the Q&A session, I would like to go ahead with Andre next. Yeah, Andre, I hope you got the stats. And I would like to ask, because we got a question before the webinar with the registration form. Yeah, how the process of recruitment, I mean the test, interviews, company trainings has changed from the past to present, and whether it's benefiting the industry, maybe safety wise, it might be benefiting, but on the other side, the mental stress. So I know you are working with young professionals and you have talked with them. So can you give your views on this, please?
Certainly, thanks, Captain Talanka. Well, we have a global problem. There is no doubt about that, and I think our poll there, our SNAP poll, has just reinforced what we seafarers do know. I meet a lot of cadets around the world, particularly in South America and here in the USA where I live, who cannot get sea time. Proper sea time, and that is something I found that's changed. I hate to admit it, but my cadetship ended 40 years ago this year. I was promoted third mate in 1983, so it is a really long time, I know, for all of you, and I can see you both smiling there, but it goes very quickly. Things were very different when I went to sea, and I'm sure for Captain Chinna as well. We joined great companies. I joined Cunard Shipping Services Limited. They had 38 ships, and that was just the cargo division of the world famous Cunard line. And I had a great cadetship, wonderful foundation of knowledge, and it was 2 years at sea. Things have changed incredibly, and what I'm hearing is the frustration from the cadets and from the students in college that they can't get on ships. And yet we have over 60,000 ships trading the world. You know, there's a disconnect there. And I think that is the greatest problem. And what I'm hearing is the frustration from these younger career professionals who want to get to sea, who want to get on ships, who are desperate. But an interesting question has just come in, and my thanks to Michael, talking about the interview techniques, and something that I hadn't realized, that this attendee has just questioned us to say that company shore management with the interviews are often conducted by young officials with no experience of life at sea or the standards required for officers. And then he goes on to ask can we not adopt a standard for recruitment based on recommendations by the Nautical Institute or a similar body, thus ensuring there's a standardization throughout the nation's shipping companies, also ensuring proper interview boards with a requirement for at least one serving captain or of course chief engineer on the board. So that's an interesting concept as well. We prepare cadets for life at sea, but does the interviewer actually understand what life at sea is really like? Thank you.
That's a good point, Captain Andre. And yeah, that's why maybe interviews are from the same background, they understand well. Yeah, so next question we got, that's also a question we got early before the webinar, while with the registration form. I would like to go ahead with Verena. So as a young professional, what do you think the skills and knowledge to develop? What skills we should develop, and you know, as younger professionals, you have to face maybe interviews, tests, and promotions. So going forward with it. So what skills you should develop?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's a brilliant question. On one hand, you have this basic technical knowledge from school, and you should be aware that the technical equipment you use in school did not match the equipment on board. So sometimes they are completely different because they're made from different brands. And as soon as you're on board, you should get familiar with all this technical equipment there, like reading the technical manuals, asking questions, so that you can use this equipment as fast as possible in an appropriate manner, and especially in distress situations. And if you come to distress situation, your proper behavior in those kind of situations and also your safety awareness is very important and an important skill to develop. And usually it comes with experience, but you can also take additional training for it. And on the other hand, you have the soft skills, which have a huge impact also on board. And for example, for me, it was a big difference from being a cadet and being a first-time an officer, because you realize that you're really responsible and accountable for your work and your decisions that you make. So you should be confident in what you're doing. You should develop like leadership skills and also cultural awareness, so that the people will follow your orders and count on you. And yeah, and most important for me is also to be a good part of the team, like a good team member, that you treat everyone with the same respect. So yeah, from my point of view, these are the first most important things that you should do when you're on board.
That's very informative, Verena. And yeah, I got a question from Captain Brian. So it's regarding the waiting time for the first assignments again. So I would like David to run our second poll, please, so that yeah, this is it. And this is regarding what you think is a solution to reduce the waiting time. So it's not the panelists only sharing our ideas, and as the Nautical Institute, we share our ideas with our members, and its members we are discussing it. So you also have a chance to send your opinion on this, please. So the first one is training centers should accept only for the slots they have. And second one is owners managers should hire at least one cadet permanently. That means keep one cadet at a time on one vessel. And third one, the current recruitment system is fine and cadets will find ships. So if you think like that, you can select number 3. And if you have a better suggestion, that's what we really require. So I feel if you can select number 4, and if you send us your opinion, so we would be grateful, and we can use it in the future as well. And with Captain Andrew also doing some projects in March, so it will be very helpful. So you can select either number 1, 2, 3, or if you're selecting number 4, please send your ideas. Maybe you can use the question box, then press the send button, so we'll get it. Yeah, and thank you, Captain Brian, for it. Yes, and yeah, 39% thinks that training centers should accept only for the slots they have. Captain Andre, your opinion on these results, please.
Yeah, that's interesting. Current recruitment system is fine, 2%. Okay, I think that sums up our feelings here. Interestingly, in America, the system is very different here, in that the cadets go to college, and during the summer generally, although at different times of the year, they go off and do their sea time. A lot of that training is done on the training ships, the college training ships. All cadets have to do at least one trip on their college training ship, and then they try and get sea time. But we only have, the last figures I got was 74 commercial vessels under the American flag. So as you can imagine, the competition is incredibly high. And if your GPA is a 4.0, then you're probably not going to get on one of those 74 ships. That's the truth of it. And they don't all take cadets. So, it's incredible competition. So if you just take cadets that have got guaranteed support from a company to give them sea time, then your colleges are going to close. They're just not going to go on, because there's hundreds of cadets going through in each of these colleges, and I've been fortunate enough to visit a couple of them, and I'm trying to visit the other two as president while I'm here. Sorry, other three. So that is a difficult one. That's the way it used to be. It's not now. I have a solution for that. I know we're very short on time. So any of you that are members of the Nautical Institute, I offered a solution in the January edition of Seaways, which involves container ships and vessels on liner trays for that. Just one other point though, I'd love to see ships taking cadets. I like to see at least 2 cadets on every ship for safety, if nothing else. But with mixed nationalities, mixed languages on board, which we have on virtually every ship these days, it's common. 2 cadets is much better. 1 on deck, 1 in the engine room, however you want to work it. 2 deck, 2 engine, it doesn't matter, but there should always be 2. And to those of you building new ships at the moment, particularly the green ships, I say to you, you are investing millions of dollars in these new ships. You're investing in the future by reducing your carbon footprint. Please invest in the officers on board and guarantee a minimum of 2 cadets on every new ship that you build. Those cadets within the lifetime of the ship will be the captains, the chief engineers, the superintendents, the managers, even the CEOs within the lifetime of the ship. So please continue the future with those. Thanks.
Thank you, Andrew. That's very useful, the information you have given us. And yes, I would like to go to Captain Chin now. And we know that the current system having this language test and CBT test, and as you are representing a company-based training institute, so what's the views of the company and why they are requiring this kind of CPTs, maybe language test and company-specific trainings? Because young seafarers may think that these are not necessary, or is it actually not necessary or required? Just need your views on this, please.
Right. For the record, of course, I have not put the system in place. I am not part of the design team for the system. But I can give my personal opinion on this for various companies that I know in general. As has been pointed out already, we tend to have multinational crew on ships nowadays, and most companies recognize English as common language. If not English, at least one language is recognized as the official common language. So I believe from the company's point of view and from the recruiter's point of view, it's extremely important to establish that the young seafarer is well versed in the official common language, because otherwise the operations on board simply will not work. And because the competition is so heavy, because the slots are so few, they are forced to adopt some form of filtering, excuse my language, some form of mechanism to identify the right candidates. Whether it's the perfect system or not is of course subject to debate, but something is necessary. And I'm sure the intent is quite honorable. Thank you.
That's understood, and thank you for that. And I would like to go to Mario, because it's the same question. I would like to ask from Mario. So, when you're recruiting a person, is it matters really? The CBT's language tests, is it important to select candidate.
Sorry, was the question for Mario? I think
yes.
he's dropped out.
Yes, he's dropped now. That's fine. So I would go to Verena with the same question. So you have gone through this process. So is it how you feel with the system? How you feel with the concept? Is it stressful, or you like to go ahead with it? Or maybe you can share your friends' opinions, maybe your opinion. Please share with us, please.
Yeah, thank you for that brilliant question. I actually can only talk about the situation in Germany, and for me it was the first problem to find a shipping company which still hires European seafarers. So you will write a lot of application letters and get rejected. You will feel disappointed, but you should not be, because it's not about you, it's about the system in general. And when you get invited to a job interview or an assessment center, you will feel a lot of pressure. Even if you're brilliant prepared, you will feel still a lot of pressure. You will get nervous, and this is just not a typical situation. So you will also face questions or tasks which you are not prepared. So, but please just calm down, because also the crewing managers knows that this is not a typical situation for a young person.
Thank you, Verena. And now Mario is here. I would like to ask the same question. If you heard it, or should I repeat?
Sorry, my connection failed for a couple of seconds. Can you repeat the question so I can?
Yes.
So
I was asking. Yeah. What I was asking, the CBTs and this process, is it really important, and is it matters when you're deciding this candidate is in or out, the CBTs and the language tests?
Well, it's a yes and a no answer from what I have seen. If the demand is high, the CBT results or the prerequisites are lessened down. But in most cases, the demand for cadet or training slots are limited. So there is a way of reducing the interviews. So these CBT exams and language exams. For example, one common one is Marlines, which gives a good idea to the interviewer or the recruiter about the candidate's maritime English level. And there are certain online examinations which categorize the person exactly on his job title, and then is tested for his knowledge base. So this reduces the interviews or the company's research of this individual person. So what I'm telling to the youngsters is that when you have to go through these prerequisites, pre-exams, study what you have learned in the school, do some group studies. This will help you, and you have to go through this. There's no way around it. But once you are at the interview, just forget about everything else which was done beforehand. Be yourself. As Verena was trying to say, try to calm yourself down, because the interviewer or the officer who's taking you in also knows the scenario, also has experience taking trainees interviews. So he'll be very free with you. So try to show your best self.
Yeah, thank you, Mario. And it's understood. Yeah, and we with Captain Mario, we got a question. It's a suggestion with we got from Michael, and he's suggesting that to have a discussion on overall interview procedure. And yes, it's not the time, but we can do here today. But yes, as the YMC will definitely look on that to have a maybe separate maybe webinar or event for that. We'll certainly look at it. Yes, sir, we are receiving a lot of questions, but unfortunately we weren't able to answer at the moment. But we do care about your questions and ideas. Each and every question will be taking into consideration, and we are trying to address and with the YMC and the Nautical Institute. So as the time passes, I can ask the final question, maybe again from the Mario. So what, with your experience, what are the major drawbacks of the candidates? Why they're failing?
Yes, Tilanka, good question and a valid question also. The drawback is that what I see quite commonly is that the candidates are worrying too much when they sit in front of the interviewer, and they try to impress, which comes out as a practiced answer most of the time. So what the interview is looking at, if you're a trustworthy person, if you're safety oriented, and if you are looking at a career with my company, if I employ you, if I invest on you, because a trainee is a lot of money invested. So if I invest to train you on board my ships, will you be staying with me? Will you be performing with me? And in the future, am I able to hand over a multi-million-dollar vessel onto your hands? So what I want to close up my answer is with: be free, be yourself, and let the interviewer see that you are looking forward for this training opportunity and you're grateful for it, and that you will be an employee for their company and a valued employee. This will get you through.
Thank you. Thank you. And now we are coming to the end of the webinar, and thank you, Captain Andre, Verena, Captain Chinna, and Mario for coming up with this webinar. And if you don't know, we have so many branches in the world, so you can join the NI and you can be a part of the any of your closest branch, and visit www.nautis.org. So there are many information you can get about our membership criteria, membership options, and courses. There are many to offer with Nautical Institute. And thank you for attending for the webinar, and because we value you. And of course, you can become a member today if you are already not. And I'm reminding you again, we have free membership for the younger maritime professionals, young seafarers, and it's absolutely free. And until you finish your training period, you can be in the Nautical Institute and you can share your ideas. And this is a place we value your ideas and your voice will be heard. And thank you very much, all the panelists and the participants, and have a nice day.
Thank you, Tilanka.
Okay. Thank you.